Hello and welcome to the Righteous Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ray Charles, coming at you with part three of the series, Loneliness in Leadership. Now, if you have not listened to part 1 and 2, I encourage you to listen to part 1 and 2 before you listen to today's episode entitled Loneliness in Leadership. To just give you a sneak peek, in part 3, we will talk about some of the secrets that President Nelson Mandela endured and triumphed over loneliness while being incarcerated and being behind bars for 27 years. Enjoy part 3 of Loneliness in Leadership.
You used the D word a few seconds ago. I want to go back to that dream. You want to give yourself time to dream. Doc, there are different types of dreamers out there. And I believe what I'm about to say speaks directly to your question. Your question is to the audience, what's the legitimate reason to operate in isolation as a leader? Well, here are the different types of dreamers. Ultimately, you want to be a dream maker. I'll come back to that. But you don't want to be a dream baker. You constantly put in a new bake in the oven. You're not given time. You're not the patience, not having that patience. That's because you haven't given your time to be quiet and isolate yourself to get the full understanding of that dream. That takes some isolation. So there's dream makers, there's dream bakers, there's dream fakers. You know, the whole concept of fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And even dream fakers, they don't give themselves enough time because once they have the thought of it, they go out and run with it with the mindset of fake it till you make it. So there's dream makers, dream bakers, dream fakers. They're dream takers. You get the thought, you don't quiet down to assimilate that thought, but then you go and share it with someone, and they put doubt in your heart, and they take it away from you. Dream makers, dream bakers, dream fakers, dream takers. But there's one last one. Dream undertakers.
Undertakers. Who are they?
Dream undertakers are those who bury their dream with them. They are dream undertakers. They are those, like I've shared with you, whose legacy died with them. They never took the time to mentor someone who can then take it to another level. So we just shared 5 different types of dreamers. And the only one...
And also I challenge our audience to identify where they are.
Exactly.
And also differentiate people who they are based on these 5 types of dreamers.
The only one that will bring forth a full birth is dream makers. And that requires the conception of the seed, the germination. It takes time. That's the understanding, the wisdom welling up, the strategy, having that notepad at your bed, not sharing it with the world yet, gaining full understanding. That's all during isolation. And then the execution. Did those help, Doc? Those 5 types of dreamers.
Yeah. It's very powerful. But let's say, people, they may not be convinced that they should find a way to collaborate with other leaders. Mm-hmm. What are the side effects? What kind of prices they're going to pay if they don't avoid operating in isolation?
The impact.
Individually, organizationally, what are the side effects, consequences of operating in isolation?
There are 3. There are 3 key ones. I'm sure there are lots. And it's the acronym HER, H-E-R. H stands for the hourly impact. By operating in isolation, it's going to take you a whole lot longer to execute a task that if you can identify a few allies, that can be executed in a much shorter period of time. So there's an hourly impact of operating in isolation. The E in her, H-E-R. The E is that there's an emotional impact. That feeling of isolation can be even developed further into doubt, into depression. I mean, it goes on and on, in feeling like a failure. So all of those words that I'm describing, these are all emotional words. So there's an emotional impact. And the last one, the R, is revenue. There's a revenue impact. Just one word from sharing your, not failure, but setback. Just sharing your ideas, sharing your opportunity, doing a mini SWOT analysis with a colleague can give you that aha moment and give you that acceleration, which you can then call your board or your direct reports or your senior executives and say, guys, I got a solution. I have a strategy. You wouldn't be able to run with that if you operate in isolation. So there's a revenue impact, there's an emotional impact, and there's an hourly impact.
So the impacts are at individual level and organizational level. So organizations should take time and identify and help leaders who are lonely, because that's a setback to the organization. Because think about it, that leader has been operating in isolation. Let's say if he dies because of accident or health issue and so on, his knowledge, his experience, everything dies with him. Let's say that your organization expands. You don't have people who can take some assignments and challenges because this leader has been operating in isolation, never developed people to take other challenging positions like he did. So considering the impacts at the organizational level, organizations should pay closer attention to those leaders who are lonely. They should find a way to give them incentives to operate in collaboration.
Just as we have a research and development line item and different line items in a budget, we ought to have a line item for personal development, personal and professional development. And that's why I'm so excited about companies like the company that I'm affiliated with, Vistage International, that opens that space for leaders to come together in a safe environment to unpack and receive an objective viewpoint from their peers about the particular issue prior to unrolling it in their particular organization, rolling it out within the organization.
So now we are talking about the solutions, the how. So how can leaders stop operating in isolations and start to collaborate and find people who can support them, nurture them, and also help them achieve what they dream?
You know, I want to go back to
what are some of the steps?
I want to go back to Rocky. The I is involve. Just get involved. You know, sometimes the steps begins by serving, by being that servant leader, getting involved in your chamber of commerce, getting involved in different business organizations, getting involved, serving on a nonprofit board. The person that is sitting right next to you could very well be a solution and a resource for your company. But you don't go in there with the intent and the motive just to help me. Look at me, look at me. But you go in there with the intent to serve. It begins with service, not solution. It begins, that's why servant leadership, lots of books are out there on servant leadership. But again, those books on servant leadership just speaks to being a servant leader and not the execution of it.
Now let's talk about also the impacts and how to help individuals and organizations recover from that kind of impacts. I believe that if the leader, if they are watching right now and if they have been operating in isolations, definitely there are some impacts, some damage that have been already happening. So how can they recover from that kind of damage and start to recover and go to the right direction? Let's say somebody's already in isolation, right?
Yeah. This is something that's very dear to me. One of my clients, operated in isolation, and it turned out to be pretty negative. He actually committed suicide, and this particular person was a go-to person. But again, who does the go-to person go to in their time of need? I believe the way out, the how, is to first be open that there are different dimensions of a leader. There's the business leader, but I also have a life, I have a family. So there's the emotional aspect of that leader. And just to be open to be led as a leader. So just seeking that help, whether it be through mentorship, whether it be through coaching. But I firmly believe, Dr. Askia, the number one path is just to serve. The moment you start refocusing, changing the focus from yourself to offer that service to another organization or another child, or maybe starting a mentor-protege department within your business, that's a way of investing in people. And that investment produces a return, and it causes that deterioration of that whole isolated effect.
I haven't planned it, but I think we have to discuss something about, let's say, first, let me quote you one quotation from Middle East. It says, "Owe to leadership, for it buries those who possess it." Here is also William Shakespeare. He said, "Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown." So there is a challenge for leaders, and some leaders may find themselves in a very difficult position where they are kept alone. Let's talk about Nelson Mandela. When he was in jail, he was forced. He didn't have any choice. Now, he was forced, He didn't choose to be alone, but he was not lonely. Yeah, he found ways to find collaborators. As you said, he was serving while he was in jail. Yeah. There may be other leaders right now, maybe they are in jail, maybe they are in a very difficult situations. If you go to my country, there are great leaders. Some of them are my friends, like Andualem, he's an opposition leader. And also there are some journalists, they are in jail, forced to be alone, but they could be able to find ways not to be lonely. So Mandela, what he was doing, he was serving while he was in jail. He was writing letters to his family members, allies. He was also reading, writing, and also he had a group of freedom fighters who were mentoring him, who were talking to him, nurturing him. Think about it. He was alone. He was posed with information like the problem with his wife, the days of his child, his mother, and so on. Passing through those all difficult moments, he was not lonely. Mm-hmm. So it's possible for leaders, even if they are forced to be lonely, there is a way for them to remain alive by finding ways to find people who may support them, nurture them, and encourage them.
And if you recall the triangle that I shared earlier, the base of that triangle being vision, then the next segment is differentiation. The next level is revenue. These are the the pain points, if you will, of a leader. The way that you can function alone and not lonely is that you have to fuel that vision. Sometimes it can be fueled just from reading a book. Sometimes it can be fueled just from serving. It's Mandela, President Mandela, may he rest in peace, he found ways to fuel. He found ways to fuel his vision just from establishing a garden, a vegetable garden.
He would have died prematurely. He wouldn't have stayed long enough to become the first black president of South Africa if he was lonely. So loneliness kills people, their creativity, and finally it affects their health, and that is a price they are paying themselves and their organization and their community and their nation.
But I also believe, Doc, a key component in answering directly to your question, how can you operate as a leader alone and circumvent and overcome the loneliness? See, loneliness is a time factor. I'm lonely for a period of time. You and I, we've experienced loneliness, but it didn't last.
Yep.
The way you defeat loneliness is that you have to operate in a place out of time.
Out of time.
Out of T-I-M-E, out of time. And what takes me out of the realm of time is purpose.
That keeps you alive.
That keeps me alive.
Survive that moment of that season of loneliness.
I have to feed that fuel. Even though the circumstances tells me that there's no way in the human that I can execute this, because allies are not coming my way to help me, to lift my hands to fulfill this. That can put me in a place of loneliness.
By the way, I like this because, in the past 2 decades, I have had, I believe, 4 loneliness situations.
Come on, talk about
seasons. In those seasons, if you ask me what helped me survive, what the purpose you're talking about, it took me out of the time.
It took you out of the time capsule.
Exactly, because if you are bound with time, and if you feel like you are helpless, and if you think that this loneliness is going to continue forever, you're wrong. Because it has its own time. When the time expires, you're free.
Yes.
If you use that loneliness time, because I made some transitions from one profession to another, from one organization to another, until I reached this level. I don't know, maybe in the future I may have a situation where I need to have a transition. So during those periods, what kept me alive is because I took myself out of time, stick my eyes, my vision onto something that I'm passionate about. That means my purpose, my mission in life. I knew that, that transition period gonna last. It may be 1 year, it could be 1 month, it could be 3 years. So if there are people, leaders who are maybe right now out of job, maybe called out, maybe in jail, or maybe sick, hey, this loneliness season will pass away. They have to have that purpose, that keeps them out of the rule of time. They become out of the control of time. That makes you alive while you are really in a situation where you are lonely.
Yes. In President Mandela, going back to his example, as he was developing his garden, and this is all documented. This is not Dr. Ray speak. Yeah. This is all documented. When he was interviewed, they asked him, why did you spend so much time developing this garden? His response was, it takes me out of the realm of time.
Wow. Repeat it.
It takes me out of the realm of time. So then the question is, what garden are we developing that can take us out of the realm of time? That garden could be a child. That garden could be an at-risk youth. That garden could be service. Garden is simply a metaphor. What garden, and Dr. Askett, we've been talking for a while on this show, but I believe this is like the core of it. What garden are we developing? Is the garden just us? It got to go beyond us. What garden are we developing that can take us beyond the realm of time, still be alone, and slay that dragon of loneliness?
By the way, many of the successes that I have achieved, I'm not saying I'm successful yet because I'm on the learning curve, but the successes that I have achieved happened because of those loneliness seasons. Because during those seasons, I have written books. During those loneliness seasons, I served. During those loneliness seasons, I strategized. And many of the jumps, many of the successes that I have achieved happened because of those seasons. Because during those seasons, I was not lonely.
You found your garden.
Exactly.
You found your garden. You developed your garden. You nurtured your garden.
Exactly.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
During that period.
So that's what we encourage our audience. Dr. Ray, I really enjoyed our discussion. Thank you very much for coming.
This was great.
On behalf of ISAT and our audience, thank you very much for coming. We enjoyed this discussion. Dear our viewers, we have concluded this discussion about leaders not operating in isolation. It's very important. You may be lonely right now, but believe that you can use that opportunity to serve others, to maintain your sanity and come out from that loneliness. But you need to find people who can collaborate with you, support you, and help you while you are passing through your loneliness season.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the Righteous Leadership Podcast. I want to share with you some stats. I don't know if I've ever shared this with our listening audience. Our second highest listening audience is Hong Kong. I want to thank our Hong Kong audience for spreading the word on Facebook and different social media outlets in Hong Kong. Our third highest listening audience is Liberia. I want to give a shout out to our listening audience in Liberia, and our highest listening audience is the United States. You can subscribe to our podcast directly from Apple Podcasts, or you can even go on our website on arayoflight.com. That's ARAYOFLIGHT.com. My goal, my mission, my mandate is to be a ray of light to the nations. We hope that we are doing that through this podcast. Until we meet again, see you at the top from the Righteous Leadership Podcast. Take care and God bless.